Hey guys, welcome back to the Marketing for Tax Professionals podcast. My name is Emily and this is
Jesse?
and today we're going to be talking about branding. Now, this is like a topic
Yes.
for us because I don't like it that much, but I'm just gonna be honest with you,
No,
okay?
yeah, you kept it real. You kept it
But
real.
but it is important for you guys to understand the nuances of branding as a tax pro, and also depending on the growth level that you're in. So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to be talking about. Like, okay, should you actually be focusing in branding? At what level should you be, or at what stages should you be focusing on branding? And we'll take it from there. So I asked you this question, Jesse, earlier today. What is branding from your perspective?
So branding is the why,
Okay.
right? And we spoke about marketing being the how or
Okay.
the what. What are the mechanisms to get there? But really, it's about sharing your story, sharing your values, your mission as to kind of why you started in tax preparation. For a lot of people, I've noticed that actually for tax professionals that I work with, they have some really, really cool stories. One of which is, there was one lady where, she grew up in an impoverished neighborhood. She didn't know much about, taxes or financial literacy or how to improve generational wealth and things like that. Her community just wasn't exposed to that information. So as she kind of went into high school, into college, that was in the back of her mind, like how do I make this happen for them? And so she then, after she graduated from college, she wanted to do something for the community, wanted to be that person that they can rely on, right?
Yeah.
She grew up seeing all the mistakes and the pitfalls that, people that aren't exposed to that much financial literacy are making, and she wanted to be that beacon of hope, that change, right?
That's
and
awesome.
so that's a really powerful story, right? If you're a part of that community, you grew up seeing the community make these mistakes. I don't want you to make this anymore. Come to me. Let's work on something like that. So when it comes to that kind of a brand story, I absolutely love. But focusing, to your point, focusing on the logo or the graphics or the things may not be just the most important thing for you as a tax business now, because you're not a huge brand just yet.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think that the brand story is such a powerful element of your business. However, I think a lot of people struggle with that, right? But let me just kind of go back for a second and talk about the brand story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it so powerful? Like, obviously, people can relate to it. But it just also, I think it gives you an easier way to really express your value as a service provider, because there is that emotional attachment, that psychological kind of like game that you're playing with people. I know it sounds kind of bad, but I mean, it is, it gives you the ability to really influence people in a positive manner and impact, their decision-making process. And marketing is all about that too, right? Just how to influence the decision-making process in a way that is ethical, of course.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important that we understand how critical the brand story is. But I also find that a lot of business owners across the entire gamut have a hard time extracting that brand story.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips on how to extract that, or how do we even begin? Because I know for a fact some people can take years to extract those brands, and there's multiple brand stories too. It's not just the story, right? Like, it's not the story, it's like different layers. It's like peeling onions, right? Like, you're peeling layer after layer of your life and integrating that into your actual business. So how does one begin that journey of exploring like the core brand story?
Yeah, I think a good question to ask yourself is, what do I want to be known for? Right? Like, what are some of those things? Because once you start to answer that question, then you start to, be specific or intentional about the people that you're trying to help.
Yeah.
So I know we spoke about in our last couple of podcasts is, different tax professionals who are doing it right. So Duke Loves Taxes, his brand, or who he is helping content creators, entrepreneurs. That's what he's known for. And so if I want to be known for doing X or Y or Z, I need to make sure that I'm like full throttle into that atmosphere, into that business, and make sure that I can come up with good solutions for them.
Got it. I also think that to the point of logos and color palettes and how you present yourself. I think having a logo is important, but to be honest with you, companies go through so many different iterations
Yeah.
of logos, you know, through their journey, right? So should you put a lot of effort in logos and branding palettes and how you portray yourself on Instagram or social media? I think it really depends on where you are in business, and also understanding the channels that you are actually promoting your business in. Because on Instagram, your branding guidelines are going to be different, or they're going to be expressed differently at versus like LinkedIn or things like that, right? So you have to understand those things as well. Is it important right now? What are your thoughts? Like, depending on like what is the revenue? Is there a revenue threshold that we should be looking into to start actually worrying about those branding guidelines?
So if you're a tax professional and you're spending a month or two thinking about your logo or your color palette, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
that like, yes, it's important.
Yeah.
Right? You definitely want to differentiate yourself in terms of your brand, right? But you want other things that are going to be more influential into how your tax season is going to unravel. I think it's something that a lot of tax pros may not want to, may kind of, and that's a trap that they kind of fall into.
Yeah.
Right? They're just doing
It's busy work
that doesn't translate to
revenue.
New leads, to revenue.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people like you spend hours on Canva, right? And creating social media content and little flyers and things like that. And instead you should be spending your time doing something else, knocking on doors figuratively, or like having conversations, planning out your events or your community events, or where you're going to be at, next week. Where are you holding, special networking sessions and things like that. Like, those are the things that are going to ultimately convert. Now, on the same side, like on the other side of the coin, branding does build trust and credibility, in the sense of, I think where that comes into effect is the consistency of how much you show up, or how often you show up. Like, so for example, if you decide that this year is going to be your year of social media and you're going to be publishing content on social media, you should be consistent, right? Not just for the algorithm, because the algorithm likes consistency across the board. Like, I'm talking about all channels. All channels love consistency. So if you're posting at a certain time or like every single day, the algorithm is going to expect that from you. But your audience too, right? So consistency is part of branding, I believe, and how you show up in your social media is important too. I have seen so many content creators have like little ways of showing up. Like, some people might be like, they have like the phone like this, and they just be like this every time. And when they constantly do that slap on the phone, it's part of your branding, right? So there might be nuances to this, or certain things that you do that identify you,
or it could be
as a content creator.
Or it can be something like a tagline too.
A tagline too,
right?
yeah.
I've seen, for instance, there's this lady that I follow on TikTok or on Instagram where she gives legal advice on air travel. So like, if let's say they bump your seat to another one, like her tagline is like, I read the fine print so that you don't have to.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
so something along those lines, as it relates to your niche within your niche.
Yeah.
And your customers, like something that you can deliver that people resonate with, or your niche audience resonates with.
I love that. And I think so. I would start thinking about those things versus colors, versus logos, versus how to like make this flyer look pretty. How can I really stand out in my content, and create something that is so memorable, that is so me, right? And to be fair, this is something that we're currently discussing for Refundo too, right? Like, how do we express all the different stories that we have at Refundo, all the things that make Refundo, and how do we express it on social media? How do we express it across our marketing materials, our marketing efforts, our sales efforts? And so I'm telling you this, I'm sharing this because it's a journey. It's not something that, can be, created overnight. It's something that it's an exploration. But I would definitely start thinking about what makes you different. There are multiple exercises, but you could ask somebody, a close friend or close friends and families, hey, what are some things that you feel like identify me as a person, right? Like for me, I talk fast. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm sassy, and things like that. And a lot, like it's something across the board for me. And maybe there's a pattern that you have that you could be expressing out there for people, as long as it's obviously professional.
Yeah, and in the same way, you're talking to friends and family. I mean, if you've had customers for a couple of years, ask them too.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you've had some loyal customers, ask them
What made you stay with
yeah,
me?
what made you stay with me? What was it about me? Was there, and you'll be surprised that maybe some of the answers that you might receive, and then hey, I didn't think of that. Let me double down
sure.
on something like this. Maybe you're very charismatic, but you feel like you're a little more shy than you think. And if you play off of that and you're like, hey, let me try to embody that a little bit more, because people seem to resonate with that particular aspect.
You might be surprised that people want to know more about you or want to stay in your circle because you're real.
Yeah.
And you might be sitting here like, oh, I don't want to post content on social media because I need to have my makeup done. I need to get my hair done. I need to have it all like completely staged and perfect. But little do you know that people actually want to be part of your ecosystem and want to work with you because you are such a real person when you're like in person with them, right? And so how do you express that realness online is really the challenge, and what you should be thinking about when it comes to your branding. Like, okay, how do I express my realness, my rawness on social media so that it is approachable, so that it feels relatable, and so that it increases your like and trust
you'll
factor.
be able to get a lot of those metrics off of social, right? If your brand or the way that you're presenting yourself or what you're being known for is kind of percolating within the industry, you're going to see people comment, you're going to see people engage with things like that. So just because you start a certain way doesn't mean you can't kind of almost like a brand audit, right? Like, check yourself, see if this is working, see if it's not, kind of realign those values. And I think there's certainly a lot of room where you can play with things like that.
So let's talk about some, like how, like offline and online. Offline branding, online branding. So we talked a little bit about online branding. Obviously offline branding, what does that look like for a tax pro?
Offline branding, man, what's really funny, it just came out and like hit me right in the face, like a car with like your logo, right?
Oh yeah.
Or even just like your storefront, making sure that you have the right kind of aesthetics that you're trying to portray.
We had one that was on a billboard.
Yes.
Yeah,
which is really cool. So we'll call her out, Markeisha Muse. She was on a billboard in Times Square. She was advertising the Now Advance, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great. The lighting was good. The image was great, and she was so proud of it. But that's certainly something that people identify with and say like, wow, she's making moves, she's doing this, she's doing that, and then kind of making that part of your online presence, whether it's on social, whether it's on your website. I think kind of reinforces kind of who you are as the thought leader in that space.
And if you're, well, for a man too, but if you're a girl, if you're a woman, like I would say invest on photo shoots. Like invest on a photo shoot at least once a quarter. It doesn't have to be all out. You can spend anywhere from $200 to $1,000 on a nice little photo shoot with your headshot. Get those things refreshed as often as possible, and keep a little bank, right? Because we'll talk about social media, and we'll dive into social media tactics in another episode, per channel. But for example, on Instagram, you don't really want to have lots of graphic posts, like, the templated content that you see on Canva. But if you share your photo, like your headshot every once in a while, that looks good for your entire, aesthetic of your social media feed or your Instagram feed. So it's good to have that content because, again, you're supposed to look professional. Selfies are nice, but have that photo shoot at least once a year.
And it's really cool because there's a face behind the tax guru, right? Like you're looking at the person, like here's the person that's going to help me with my taxes. It's not just some stock photo with someone doing like on a computer or something like that's not that's not authentic. And so,
oh my gosh, stock photos on social media, please,
they're the worst. Please stop.
Don't
do
because like it's a waste of effort. It's a waste of time. Like it does not work. It does not work.
I would much rather it be the same exact message, but just your face, or just
or a video,
or a
like a
video,
selfie,
or
hey guys,
or something like that. But
yeah,
people are seeing right through the bullshit when it comes to,
and the algorithm doesn't like it. So you're not even being put out there to, like, your content is not even being placed on like in front of people's, like in their people's feeds, because the algorithm knows that it's just a stock photo. It's just like a static thing.
No one's engaging with it. No one wants it. There's no reason why Facebook should amplify that particular ad, because no one wants to see that.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome.
And so we want to make sure that as things start to change within social media platforms, you're adapting your style to those things. A lot of what we're doing now is going to be focused on video. Before, if you notice, a lot of static ads, they were working really well.
Yeah.
Carousel posts were working really well. You know, stock photos were to some degree, but now that's just not the case.
Yeah,
so,
a lot of like user generated content is also really good.
Yeah.
And you can go to Fiverr, or there are other platforms that you can pay somebody, a creator, for $100 to $150 to create an ad for you. So like, you don't really, like, if you're like, oh, Emily, I don't like being on video, you can have someone create that content for you. And just, you know, basically put the same message that you would put otherwise, but have somebody actually do that video for you.
So one thing that's pretty cool that I've seen some tax professionals do is, for instance, like early season fathers, the emphasis on refund advances, and some people really need it to, you know, pay off bills or whatnot. And so I recommended to a couple of tax pros, say, hey, every time someone's gonna go get a refund advance, take a picture of them.
Yes, oh my God,
whether
that's
it's
awesome.
whether it's like, you know, the big check thing or something like that, and you can use that image as an ad. Like people are seeing like, oh my God, this person, a real person, got a refund advance at this tax office. Like that's just like, it's down the road. Let me see if I can get the same kind of thing.
It also like almost borderline starts as social proof too. Like, hey, like they can actually help me. Like this is, and the fact that it's a real person, it's even more like, oh, this is attainable. Like I can actually achieve this.
Because a lot of what you'll see, it's, you know, theory, or like, can it happen? Like SEO, and yes, right? To some degree, but this is so tangible for people. It feels so real.
Yeah.
And it's something you should absolutely double down on, even if it's just not the refund advance bit, but like, you know, a refund transfer. If they're able to use a refund transfer, or you know, like, what are you gonna do with your advance? What are you gonna do with your, you know?
That's cool. Like a little interview.
Like a little interview kind of thing. Like, what are you gonna do with your refund? Like, you know, are you gonna invest it back into, you know, your family and you know, build it into a 401k, whatever it can be, or like, I'm gonna buy this pair of shoes that I've been dying to buy for a long time. So it's really cool to hear those stories.
And also, I'm just thinking about something real quick. I wanted to also share, like, you see the screen right here, right? Like you could put something on your computer exactly the same way and have that interview with that person, like your logo, and like literally interview that person, right? Like just those little nuances, like those little things that like really just make your brand stand out. Again, it doesn't have to be crazy. Like you don't have to like spend tons of time or money or energy on this, at least not right now. But as you get bigger, as you start growing, start actually extracting those things that are actually patterns about you, right? Like people are like, oh, this is Jesse, or this is Emily, right? And then start using that to your advantage.
Because the goal, again, is to become 1% better every time.
Yeah.
Like for tax pros, like a lot of tax pros aren't doing any of these things. Like for instance, for that, or like an interview, like they're not doing anything. So if you start to separate yourself, okay, this is what I'm doing that other tax pros aren't doing. Here's that 1%.
Yeah.
I'm improving my sales scripts. That's that 1%. So the more degrees of separation that you start to do things that tax pros should be doing and they're not, you're giving yourself that kind of runway to when they realize like, dang, I need to start doing that. You're
and we love that, right? That's the edge, right? Like we're trying to like stay ahead of the game here, and it does require that you be extra, like you know what I'm saying. It does require that you go the extra mile and do these things. So
don't be afraid to showcase your personality. Try it a couple times on video. You're gonna come across as silly. We come across as pretty silly sometimes, but this is who we are, right? Like, you know, we're silly. So the more that you start to do that, especially on video, you'll start to see the impact it can have, because the first time we did the podcast, so I was a little nervous. We were all both, but now we're having fun. Now we're just,
Yeah.
talking ish about
Yeah.
certain things that are important for tax professionals.
And I think that you have to be able to just kind of practice, and you have to just kind of throw yourself in the frying pan. Just go in there, and if you mess up once, that's fine. Like, go back to like your favorite YouTube creator and look at their past videos, and you'll see how messed up they are, right?
One thing that I got was really cool from Mr. Beast, and it's a little thing that kind of stuck with me. He says, some people were trying to get him or trying to do a job with him or wanted to be a content creator or a video creator, and he said, no, what I want you to do is first create your first 100 videos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to learn something each time.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
And the more that you learn and you engulf yourself into, what it is to be a content creator or in video, you're going to learn a lot more things, and it's just going to be easy for you.
Like for us, for example, like if you see the first 4 episodes, we don't have stickers. And we also don't have, like, we didn't have like branded shirts, but now we are doing that, right?
We're getting better.
We're getting better. We're improving. But these are things that I want you guys to also start exercising as you start building out your brand. But anyways, let's close it out. Any final remarks or?
Final remarks? No. Have a fantastic rest of tax season. I know you guys are underway. Continue to listen. Continue to see a lot of the things we're doing within the Facebook group. Feel free to reach out, and we will be opening up something soon. We'll let you in on the next couple of podcasts. We won't reveal it just yet, but stay tuned for that. This is going to be really, really cool in terms of really positioning you the right way with the right kind of leaders. So really excited about that.
Make sure that you follow us. You hit that subscribe button, bell notification,
yes,
all the things.
Always.
And make sure that you join the Facebook group, and we'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.